We are calling this Living in the Past with Stuttering John, episode 1. We're going back and listening to the original podcast episodes that John put out back in 2018. And this is actually from before we had even discovered him and listened to his podcast, because the episode that we're checking out today is from April 3rd, 2018. It's called, it's labeled 2, so I'm guessing the first episode is no longer on the internet.
Probably not.
It's called 2, the Stuttering John Podcast, all one word. No spaces in there.
Yeah.
And the description of this episode is, John gives the love back to Artie and Anthony and addresses the Scott Salem GoFundMe page. That's the entire description of this. Now, Jen, I've been talking about doing this for a little while, and I wish I had started this sooner, because this is so fun to do, to come back and check out these old episodes of John. It's fascinating.
I actually enjoyed myself for once.
Weird.
I know. It was just beyond clippable.
So we're going back to April 3rd, 2018. Now, I had thought that all of these old shows were with Royce, but this is actually one that he did by himself.
Yes.
Royce is not there. Now, Royce will appear in upcoming episodes of the Stuttering John podcast from 2018, but this one he's solo. And he's just back, it's April 3rd. He's just back from a Easter weekend, and he talks about it.
I had a great Passover. Well, I'm not Jewish, but I had a great Easter. It was awesome. I cooked my famous beer can chicken and pasta and sauce and salad. Heated up some Italian bread, made a vinaigrette for people to dip the bread in. It was awesome. Awesome. I loved cooking. Anyway,
I thought that was odd. A couple things in there. First off, John's saying that he loves cooking. He lived in an apartment that had a broken stove for months, maybe over a year.
Well, this was before his big downfall.
Correct. But I love that he cooked beer can chicken. I've never heard him prepare anything other than beer can chicken.
I know. I'm like, well, he's got a lot of beer cans laying around, so why not?
And the other thing, too, the details he goes into. He heated up bread and made a vinaigrette for dipping. Does he want credit for everything? Putting a loaf of bread in the oven he wants credit for now, too?
He's a baker. He likes to cook.
I heated up bread.
He's a rebaker.
Wow. Good stuff, man. Yeah. Impressive. Must have been some meal you had there. All right, so John opens up the episode talking about Artie and Anthony. And John explains how Artie has sold his soul to the devil because of heroin. He keeps talking about how he's just a heroin addict. He's not the guy he used to know. And the reason why he's all fired up is because on the Artie and Anthony show, they were reading the reviews of John's movie, One Too Many.
Okay, so I wasn't clear quite what was going on there.
Yes, that's the thing that triggers all of this. John is all fired up because they had the balls to go in and laugh about what people were saying about John's horrible movie, horrendous movie. So, of course, John's going to try to make Artie feel guilty. And, we just did an episode yesterday where I introduced this performative empathy. This is a new trait that I'm learning about, not new by any means, but it's new to me, a trait of a narcissist. They don't actually have empathy, but they pretend they do, and they really put it on thick.
Because he continues to be the bully and asswipe that he chooses to be, especially to me. He treats Grillo with reverence, yet beats the fuck out of me, a guy that was there, who fucking stood in front of his car when he was drunk and wanted to drive because I felt that he was, going to kill himself. The guy that fucking called in when I was...
I just realized something. When I was making fun of John the other day for saying that, I've saved 2 or 3 people from drowning alone, talking about the list of people he saved their lives.
Right.
This has to be on that list, right?
You would think.
He didn't let Artie drive drunk, and he definitely would have died that night. So this is another heroic thing that John did for Artie out of love. He's not looking for anyone to recognize it, even though he brings it up over and over again. Just did this out of love.
Oh, he's selfless.
Right.
The guy that fucking called in when I was shooting a bit on the Tonight Show, when I heard that he had committed suicide, and I called in crying over to Jason Kaplan over at the Hard Rock in Vegas, where Howard was broadcasting his show from, pleading with Jason to go up to Artie's room to make sure he was okay. Yeah, I'm the guy that did that.
That's a crazy story right there. Again, back to the performative empathy. So he goes, I heard he killed himself. So I made a call to a guy and told him to check on him. And I was crying on the phone when I told him to check on him. Well, he didn't kill himself.
No.
It didn't matter if anyone checked on him. And what do your emotions have to do with any of this? Oh, I'm such a great guy. All I do is care. That's all I do is care for this guy. And what does he do? He trashes me. He reads these reviews of my movie.
He's the worst person because he's also, by building himself up, he cannot build himself up without knocking everybody down.
Correct.
Like he can't just
Well,
build everybody up.
The other thing we're going to see here is he can't pick a lane. Is he the victim or is he super successful and better than everyone else? He can't. So he's going to go back and forth. But let me just finish this clip. I'm having a hard time. Reels coming in gifting 10 Who Are These Podcast memberships. Thank you, Reels. And thanks for being here on a special Sunday afternoon doing a bonus show. We do 2 of these a month for everyone who gets one of those memberships. You find it in the community tab. It's where we put all of the episodes that are unlisted for people who are members of the Who Are These Podcasts YouTube channel. Thank you very much for that.
I'm the guy that allowed when Artie wanted to start doing stand-up again, at least now he says he wanted to do time, whatever, and asked me to come on my comedy show that I had booked in Boston at the Comedy Connection. I said yes and put Artie on the tour.
So can you believe this? Artie is goofing on John in his really shitty movie after John saved his life, then was crying and upset and wanted someone to check on him when he heard something bad happen to him, and also let him perform comedy at his comedy gig. Artie, what were you thinking, man? What more can this guy do for you?
Don't burn that bridge. Whatever you do, Artie.
But why does John make this calculation in his head, though? Now, I'm sure that Artie could say a lot of things that John did that are shitty, and a lot of things that Artie did for John that were good. You know, like how?
Right.
So you're just like picking and choosing these little things. Like he really thinks there's a score being kept somewhere.
He's a scorekeeper.
He's a scorekeeper, and it's not like Artie and Anthony did anything bad to John. They just were reading the reviews of his shitty movie that sucks.
Well, and they didn't even write those reviews. They just read them.
They just read these reviews, and it was a funny bit on the Artie and Anthony show. So I thought back then that John was more professional, and maybe he is when he's in the studio with Royce. But right away on this episode,
Hold on, let me take a little sip of my beer. Yeah, nothing like a little beer in the afternoon.
oh, beer in the afternoon, you say? Interesting. Oh, I couldn't believe it. Shocked by that. I'm kind of going in order, Jen. If there's anything that I'm missing that you picked up on, let me know if there's any clips.
There's so much, but no, you just continue on.
Thank you, because I had a hard time getting through this episode because there's so much to talk about.
I know. I listened to it first all the way through, and then I started pulling clips.
Okay. So you just heard John stop doing what he's doing to take a sip of beer, set it down loudly like he always does,
Yeah.
and go, ah. And then he has the balls to say this.
They're both consider themselves to be broadcasters. We all know I'm a better broadcaster. Anthony might be a better broad biter or broad beater, but I'm a better broadcaster.
You're a better broadcaster, John? You're better one?
When he said that, I LOL'd.
He's insane.
He is insane.
Because he really does think he's a better broadcaster than Artie Lang and Anthony Cumia. So here's one way you could measure who's the better broadcaster. One of these 3 people, was paid $35,000 a year to answer phones for a radio show.
Right.
The other one was the host of a radio show that paid him millions of dollars and actually worked for 2 different radio companies at the same time. Mm-hmm. And the other one made millions and millions of dollars being on the Howard Stern show and the most beloved member of the Howard Stern show during his era.
But now we're both podcasters, so it's an even playing field.
And I'm better than them.
And I'm way better.
Can you imagine that? Could you imagine comparing yourself?
No.
Even, I think Opie is garbage. But I'm not sitting out here and saying, like, I'm obviously a better broadcaster than Opie. I mean, Opie made millions and millions of dollars.
Of course.
At a very popular morning show for many years.
John has got some balls.
It's funny. I was listening to Blind Mike Project today.
Mm-hmm.
And Blind Mike was pulling some clips of Steel Toe.
Okay.
And he pulled this clip of Steel Toe where Aaron's going, obviously I'm the best at this. I'm the best broadcaster there is. And he wasn't even saying it with irony or,
In what way?
a smirk or something like that. And Blind Mike's just like, dude, that worked for Howard Stern because he was leading in the ratings by a ton in
Because he was
multiple
the best
markets.
at it.
Yeah, like everyone, like he could literally say, "I'm better at this morning radio thing than all these other people are," and there was a lot of evidence to back that up.
Yes.
But if you're on a show like John is or Aaron Imholt, and you have way fewer listeners and viewers than these other people who are doing it way better than you, it's kind of dumb and pathetic to say, "I know I'm the best at this." Obviously.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
We see right through you.
So then John decides, I'm going to get them back. And John's not a creative guy. He's not a witty guy. He's not a smart guy. So he says, how am I going to get them back? I know what I'll do. I'll read negative comments about them on the internet. And John, where does he go? He goes to Reddit. Now, I found this interesting right away because I don't go on the hate sites. As soon as Dabblers Anonymous cropped up, and before that, the Who Are These Podcasts subreddit, back when people liked me, that's John hated, like, those are hate sites. I don't visit them. It's awful. It's toxic over there. But John was able to find the Reddit site that doesn't like Anthony or Artie and Anthony.
Right.
And read through every comment in the thread on that. And this is the most laughable part about this is he's talking about how Anthony wanted to have the Opie and Anthony subreddit taken down. Now, we've talked about this lore before. People know about it. A lot of people who are listening probably were in that subreddit. The old Opie and Anthony subreddit started out as a fan discussion.
They mostly do.
Yes, correct. And morphed into hatred of Opie, followed by hatred of Jim, followed by hatred of Anthony. Or maybe it was Anthony and then Jim. I forget. But they really got vicious. And it did get shut down. Well, let me play this clip.
So Anthony, I guess, was very upset with the people on Reddit. So Anthony tried to actually had to have them close down the Reddit page, the Opie and Anthony Reddit page. At least that's what people on Reddit are saying.
So this is what I like going back and doing this retrospective now.
Yes.
Knowing what we know now.
It was fascinating.
Because John's going, can you believe this Anthony guy? He's trying to get the subreddit taken down. He can't fucking take it. What a pussy. Meanwhile, we've seen in John's inbox the emails to Reddit trying to get Dabblers Anonymous taken down.
Right.
We know he's done that with my Patreon. We know he's done that with multiple YouTube channels. So John's the biggest bitch there is when it comes to, I want this stuff taken off the internet. I don't like what they're saying.
Oh, he's the king of canceling.
Correct. He always wants to do that. But then he goes, I heard from somebody that Anthony wanted this Opie and Anthony subreddit taken down. I'm sure he did, but I believe the story is, I'm pretty sure this is what happened. It wasn't Anthony. It was his brother, Joe. And the reason for that is that Joe plays in bands. And these people were pissed at Joe for some reason and decided to get all of his gigs canceled. So Joe was getting gigs canceled left and right. People were doxing Anthony's family members. And then they were actually in real life going after them and doing shit. And Reddit pulled the plug on it because those people were toxic and being complete assholes. Fucking with people in real life is not a funny joke. It's not fun. It's not entertaining. It's a weird thing to do. And so that was why that subreddit was removed. And now we make GIFs and video clips and shit like that. And John's like, we got to get this subreddit taken down. It's like, no, we're not doing what that one did. But anyway, so John goes on a subreddit and he starts reading posts about Artie. And you would think okay, here's one thing. I've gone on and read comments before. I think we all have when they're entertaining.
Yes.
I love to read a comment that's funny, that's a better joke than I would have come up with, give credit to the person who commented on it. Not John. There's no curation at all. He just goes in and just reads everything.
Let's get to Artie. Artie looks like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. That was by Jet Mink. Fully half empty, 10 grams in an 8-ball sack.
What?
What?
Yeah, so he's just like generic insults to a guy who's overweight. Like, okay, that's pretty good. Good stuff, John.
I'm gonna start using those.
Not bad. But this is what this show is. And I was shocked of how much time he devoted to just reading the subreddit thread. That was basically what he was doing.
Most of the show.
Yeah, most of the show. And, names get brought up that relationships have evolved since then. So that's always fun to take a look at.
I mean, ask Mike Boschetti. Mike Boschetti, a funny guy, and doesn't have a freaking hateful bone in his body, and Artie bullied the fuck out of him.
Oh, weird. So Mike Bochetti's just a great guy that doesn't deserve anyone to say anything bad about him.
That was one of the most interesting things about this whole entire episode was
Yep.
the amount of names he dropped
Yep.
and how close they are and what great people they are. I mean, he went on about, I don't know if you got to that part about Bob Levy.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
Where-
I have those clips. Yep. Oh, Bob's a really funny guy who could do no wrong.
Oh, I know. He's a great guy.
So funny.
It's like, how far we've fallen.
Yep. Well, that's why the way John lives his life is fascinating because he is in and out with people nonstop all the time.
Mostly out.
Mostly falling out. Yeah, mostly falling out for sure. So just Mike Boschetti reminded me of some Bologna Factory videos that we haven't played on the show before.
Ooh.
So I just thought this would be fun to kind of break it up a little bit. And yeah, I do have some Stuttering John live stuff, his band from '94 coming up in a little bit too.
Ooh, boy.
So we got some fun things to look at. But
What is a manga?
so this video here, it says Stuttering John doesn't understand a thing mumbling Mike Boschetti says. And this is put together so perfectly. You'll see how bad of an actor John is and how bad of a broadcaster he is. And also, Mike Boschetti, can we stop it with this? I don't know how we got to this place where we're all going, Mike Boschetti, wow, what a talent. Okay, if you say so.
You were like the kind of guy to be trying to Three Stooges with that drunk.
That was like what?
Take two.
You were like me when I got drunk. I was trying to Three Stooges with that drunk.
You would try the Three Stooges?
I cried the Three Stooges were drunk when I was dead one time. Drunk.
You would try the Three Stooges.
No, when I was really drunk, I cried the Three Stooges were dead.
I don't get it.
I love the Three Stooges, right? Somebody told me they were dead, and I was wasted. And I go, they're not dead. They can't be. Because I had no idea they were decades before us.
What a story, Mark.
Please, people, subscribe to my buddy.
Love Bologna Factory. Love the work that he does. And this is a more updated one, the Aquatine. And I like that Mike Boschetti is the hooker on the couch in this one.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's fun.
One of the funniest comics I've ever met. Skull. And let's tell the story. Everybody say hi to Mike Boschetti. Hey, Mike.
Hey, John, how are you? First of all, look at this head.
I know. Now, Mike, okay. Mike and I go back a long way back.
Almost 20 years, John.
Love the timing on this.
I happened to see Mike do one joke on Last Comic Standing.
First season, yeah.
So I went down to see Mike do his act.
Well, you know, John, you've seen Joe Rivers before me.
I what?
So great.
Goddamn, Joey C. lose on the track. You think he gonna get some payback?
Yeah, it's fucking me. What, you want to run your fucking mouth some more?
What if we're going to see Joey C next week? He's supposed to be going to Vegas.
Is he now?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he makes it or not. That's the story. All right. So now we've obviously talked about how Artie is an asshole and Anthony's an asshole. And after all he's done for them, it's just crazy. And this I thought was very interesting based on what we've been discovering about our pal John lately.
Someone would rather have Opie and Anthony than Artie and Anthony. Yep, says, Wally Gator. Yep, every subject gets directed back to Artie. He's a classic narcissist. And that's saying a lot since Artie worked for the biggest narcissist of all time, Howard Stern. And let's see, this is Jamie Gum.
So he could pronounce that word back then. He actually said narcissist. I mean, he was reading it, so that might have helped a little bit.
He wasn't as drunk.
He was not as drunk or as wet-brained or as addled back then. So
Yeah.
that's probably has a lot to do with it as well. I just thought that was funny that John has been calling people narcissists nonstop. Doesn't recognize it in himself, but Howard is and Stephanie Miller and Artie. Like, okay. Howard wasn't even the biggest narcissist on his own show. Dr. Drew pointed out that Robin Quivers actually blew him away, which was interesting.
That was interesting.
I would love for Dr. Drew to give the same treatment to John. That'd be amazing.
Somebody's got to do it.
That would be amazing. Okay. So now John's reading every comment in this Reddit thread, even ones that he probably shouldn't.
RH Goat Cabin, RH, he says, Artie put knives in his tummy because he was sad. Don't be sad, Artie. Hey, that's not from me. I'm just reading what people are writing.
Hey, whoa. I'm not saying this stuff. People are just writing stuff, and then I'm finding it, and then I'm screen capturing it, and then I'm reading it on my show.
He's the worst at roasting anybody, and he can't even do it when somebody else is doing it for him.
Right, he's picking the wrong things.
He just sounds
his delivery sucks.
Vengeful.
He's angry. He's picking the wrong things to read, and he knows he shouldn't be talking about Artie killing himself. It's like they read some reviews that your movie wasn't very good, and now you're reading about Artie killing himself by stabbing himself in the stomach. And John knows that that's ridiculous. He's just like, I didn't say it. I'm just reading this thing. Oh, that makes it okay.
He still does that now.
I know. No, that's the thing and what I love about this whole series that we're going to be doing here, Living in the Past with Stuttering John, is that John has changed a lot. His appearance,
Yes.
his voice, his delivery, all of that's changed a lot. But John's the same guy.
Oh, to the core.
John's never been anyone other than this guy.
I know, and I think it's really interesting when he's talks about all of his friendships. I don't think he has any real friends. I just don't believe that he does.
That's hysterical because you have a guy who was not only in show business, but on the Tonight Show.
He should have friends.
He should have a lot of celebrity friends because literally he gets to meet every celebrity. And he still is bitter about the ones that didn't say hi to him or whatever the fuck, But at the same time, it's like John's friends now are Leo Gunn and The Legend and Brock Lee, like these guys who super chat him. He calls them friends now. I was talking to Leo Gunn this morning. He agrees with me. Blah, blah, every conversation, he agrees. Like, that's why he's your friend. We get it. Anyway, so John is reading through this Reddit thread, and the Reddit is all people who don't like Anthony and Artie. Okay.
It just seems like all these guys are just. I mean, there's billions of these. There's one.
Yeah, he goes. There's billions of these. There's so many people who hate Artie and Anthony. There's billions of. Oh, here's one. It looks like he's stalling for times. He's saying there's billions of them, and then this happens right after that.
The thing that Artie doesn't seem. This is from Phantom Lord. The thing that Artie doesn't seem to grasp is that he's technically a co-host. Anthony does all the prep work. Yeah, I already read that one. It just goes on and on.
No, obviously it doesn't.
I think there are about 7.
Yeah, there's like 7, and he reads one of them twice. There's billions of these. Let me read. I already read that
8.
one.
Nope, I mean 7.
You know how hard it would be to read the same one twice if there were billions of them? I could probably do the math on what the chances of that are. I don't know. If he reads 7 and there's billions, what is the percentage chance? Anyone know off the top of their head? The percentage chance?
Ask John. He's smart.
He's well, he does teach math. You're right. You should definitely know that. All right. So he's reading this comment and someone's complaining about Artie saying out of the blue. And so John's going, I guess he says out of the blue too much. Like, okay, we're getting a little nitpicky, right? If that's what people are complaining about in this Reddit.
Right.
But then John says something very funny.
I guess Artie says out of the blue a lot. I don't know. Fucking who knows what they're fucking up to. I wouldn't pay. And by the way, here's somebody that would which I've heard this already from June to May. Artie wouldn't do any prep work when he hosted his own podcast.
I know. When I heard that, it's like pot kettle, my friend.
Yeah, no shit. John's allergic to prep work. John will watch something. And the crazy thing is that he's living his life in the Dabbleverse now. So when he sits down for funsies on his computer, he pulls up Hackverse and Shuli's Anonymous and he watches these videos. He's like, oh, that's fucking funny. I'm going to play that on my show. And still will never, ever copy down the URL and have it ready for his show. Can never find it in time.
I don't think I've ever seen him successfully do that.
No.
Without this.
Oh, and that happens on this show too, which is funny. I know. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, some of these things have not changed at all. He's faster. He gets to things faster. He's definitely more with it 6 years ago.
Yes.
when this happened.
That's his style. That's what he does.
But he's bad at this.
Yeah, he's not good.
All right. John, how long are we going to do this bit where you read a thread in a subreddit somewhere?
All right, there's 5 more. I'll just read them because fuck, I might as well get everyone in here. This is from Reed Dahl. I stopped fucking screenshotting these because it just got so many. But
Yeah, it's just so many, and they're all so funny. So I just kept grabbing them. He didn't have one. And listen, I do have a bias here. I like Anthony. I like Artie. But he didn't find one comment that was witty or interesting.
No, and
It's just all people are like annoyed with the show and the way it's going, and they're just like, I don't even listen anymore. I don't like it. Okay, it happens.
I know. It just kind of shows the kind of guy he is when he, even back then, before anybody even knew that he was doing this.
Right.
He's still punching at people left and right. Like, I'll give you an uppercut. And
Well, he never draws first blood though, Jen. Remember, that's his big thing. You started it.
Not that we know of. I don't believe that to be true.
Who even cares? We're not children. Who started it is no longer a thing anyone should be talking about when you become an adult. He started it.
He started it.
And this is actually very telling.
listen, Artie's not a bad comic. I'm not, and if I've ever said that, I don't mean he's a bad comic. Anytime that I've ever said that would only be when he's attacking me.
So you did say it.
Yeah, so he caught himself. He's like, listen, I know Artie's not a bad comic. He's like, oh shit, how many times have I said that? Oh fuck, I better say something else. But the only reason why I did say that is because he's attacking me. So this is so telling. Because John didn't care that I called his kids losers until he found out I wasn't going to be his friend. Remember, we were going to be buddies and start a show together. SJ and K was the title he came up with. And we were going to do the show together. And this was after I called his kids losers on my Patreon. Oh, and after I posted his entire book supposedly on my Patreon.
Right.
And so John was like, I'm willing to put that all beside us, behind us, and we'll go on with this thing. But that is proof that when John gets mad at someone, he'll say anything. It doesn't have to be reality. It doesn't be what he even thinks.
Well,
He's just like, I said Artie was a bad comic because he was a meanie genie to me, and I wanted to hurt his feelings.
Well, he even says that he'll punch below the belt.
Oh, yeah.
He says it right out loud.
We'll get into that. That's a pretty crazy thing, too.
I know.
All right. So
Not surprising, but
are we ready for the cope?
yes.
All right. It's time for the cope. Let's get there.
But whatever. I live a happy life. I collect a pension. I have another one coming, and I'm comfortable. I have 3 great kids, and everything's fine. Even with my 2 small strokes, I'm okay. I'm happy.
Okay. So look at, it's kind of like the John Candy thing in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's like, listen, my clients like me. My friends like me. You might not think I'm a great guy, but I'm happy. I'm doing what I want to do. Everything's great over here. It's like, yeah, we didn't say otherwise, John. We're reading these reviews of your movie. People said it really sucked. And you know what? Now that I think about it, they might have been critical reviews. It might not have just been random people on the internet. I'm not sure. I have to go back and watch that episode. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll find that episode. That'd be a fun thing to explore.
That would.
What triggered John, the Compound Media episode that triggered John on this.
Well, I know, because he started the show off and didn't really give any reason why he was doing this.
Right.
Why was he reading these reviews? He didn't say, they were goofing on my movie.
Yeah, he didn't want to say that.
No, he didn't say that.
He didn't want to.
Yeah, I know.
There's a reason for that. He knows his movie sucked. So this is amazing because I didn't realize we were going to find things like this, but there were moments when John was talking to his future self. In 2018, John was somehow able to transport himself into the future, see what he became in 2024, and then he came back and said this on his podcast.
Get better. Get fucking healthy. What the fuck is wrong with you? Since when did you become this angry, bitter sack of pile of pus? Since when did you become this hateful fucking dude?
I pulled that same. I pulled that same clip.
List.
I did because I thought the same exact thing. I said, "Wow, what a projection!"
I mean, it's perfect. It sums up what John has become perfectly. All right, this is something you probably shouldn't have read.
And then finally, from Turbo NGR.
You're reading from Turbo NGR, John.
I caught that.
Pay attention, asshole. What are you doing right now? And I really trust this guy's advice. Turbo NGR says, Jesus. He's so stupid. All right, this is what we were alluding to earlier about our buddy, the Reverend Bob Levy.
Dude is Bob Levy level when trying to be funny, horrible. Well, that's not really fair.
And remember, John's the one who's pulling out and curating these comments that he's reading on his show. He's just there by himself. So if he doesn't feel this way, he doesn't even need to say it.
Dude is Bob Levy level when trying to be funny, horrible. Well, that's not really fair. Bob's a very funny guy, and Bob's a sweetheart, and everyone should go to and give to Bob's GoFundMe campaign because he's having a hard time. He got into a car accident. Some fucking drunk driver hit him. Bob's another man who's a generous fucking dude. So if you could help him, he has a GoFundMe page, and please do, because he's a really, really good guy and a funny motherfucker. So that guy was out of line.
God, that was a lifetime ago.
Isn't it? And that's so funny. Bob Lee's very funny guy, Bob Lee.
Very nice guy.
Help him out. He's great.
Give him money.
So you heard as he's doing that, you hear his doing his one finger typing thing.
I can't not hear it.
It's interesting because we didn't really pick up on that. We didn't start talking about that until more recently. But he's been doing this forever. And so as he's talking, and back then he was actually able to say words and get a thought out while he was doing that.
You know what part of his problem too is though? He now with a video element, he's added one too many things for his brain to do at once.
Yes.
This was just audio. Even
Correct.
though I could see it in my brain exactly what was happening because I've watched a lot of John. But
all the boxes behind him and the cockroaches flying around.
There's like one less distraction, and he's able to just kind of keep it together.
You're right.
And also probably 5 million less beers.
But you heard him typing something as he's doing that. So that goes right into this. And this actually is the start of where his new style of podcasting came from.
Let's see, where the fuck is my fucking thing here? Hold on a second. There we are. All right. So that's.
So you see what I mean? Like that obviously has morphed into.
I love a parade.
That's what I mean. Like back then he could find things kind of quick. So it was just one little.
You know what you should do? Put that to a dance beat and let people dance to that.
Oh yeah.
At DabbleCon.
You think that's better than tequila? All right. I'm going to put you in charge of the dance party.
Oh.
You got karaoke Friday night. You're in charge of that. And then you're in charge of the dance party on. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're not in charge of the dance party.
That was making me nervous.
On Saturday night. I wouldn't do that to you. You know they do the silent disco thing there? At Comedy at the Carlson? Yeah.
Oh.
They have that.
I didn't know they did that there.
Yeah. Huh. I actually saw a video of Felicia, who's famous from being on MLC for the last couple months, did a show in Rochester back in December, and she was rocking out. I can safely say not 200 pounds. Felicia is not 200 pounds. I can tell you that. Okay. So now John decides. So he's going after these guys, not himself, obviously. He doesn't know how to put together coherent thoughts, funny jokes, anything. So he just goes on a subreddit and reads every single comment in a thread of people who don't like the Artie and Anthony show. And after that, John decides to play the victim card, which is a weird strategy.
But he does it all the time.
It's not the one that I would have picked. I would have picked one or the other. This is insane.
Anthony and Artie could play this back and they can goof on me ad nauseum. Just two rich guys gonna goof on the working man, I mean, yeah, I don't have Anthony Cumia money.
Just two rich guys taking down the working man.
I'm man of the people, John.
Yep. Just the working man, John, that everybody loves, working class guy, just putting on my work boots every morning, getting up early and doing my job.
Well, I pulled that clip as well, but mine went on a little longer.
Oh, do you want me to play that?
Sure.
Which number is it?
It's 2.
That's all the bad reviews I'll read for now. Now, Anthony and Artie could play this back and they can goof on me ad nauseum. Just two rich guys gonna goof on the working man, I mean, yeah, I don't have Anthony Cumia money. I mean, look, Anthony, the one difference between Anthony, well, there's a lot of differences. I'm not a fucking girlfriend beater or biter or whatever you call it. I haven't been arrested. I don't have a face that looks like James Woods on a bad day. I don't fucking have hair plugs. I don't have a bunch of fake friends who hang out with you because they like to hang out with someone famous. Although when referring to Anthony Cumia, the term famous is, well, it's very loosely based.
Can't get out of his own way.
I just thought it was interesting that he's like, oh, woe is me. You
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just like, all right, if you want to pick on me,
Go
I
ahead
mean,
and pick on me.
go ahead.
Cockface,
You
woman
ugly,
beater.
no friend having.
I know. Like, you can't even
So
even
bad.
be pathetic.
You can't keep the victim
can't
thing
keep it
going.
up.
But I just want to tell John, either you're a successful entertainer worth $2 million, as you've been claiming recently, or you're just the working man. You got to get your story straight on this. That's why people are confused. That's why people go, John, I don't think you have a lot of money. It's because you say shit like that when you're playing the victim card.
I don't think anybody's confused except for him.
Correct.
We all know what's going on.
We know what's going on. It's blatantly obvious.
But then he went on to start ripping at Artie.
Yes.
You know, and I thought that my clip 3 was pretty spot
If
on.
it wasn't for Howard, you wouldn't be doing fucking, 5,000 seat theaters. You wouldn't be a multi-millionaire now. You were on Mad TV, you got fired, and you got lucky.
You got lucky.
You got lucky. And that's, I was like, John, you got lucky. You got lucky.
Yeah,
Artie's actually funny.
Artie has talent. See, John, when you got your job at the Howard Stern show, they hired you because you had a stutter, sight unseen. Howard goes, he has a stutter? Yeah, hire him. When Artie got the job at the Howard Stern show, he had to compete with every other comic who wanted that job. There were a lot of them. A lot of really good ones, too. And Artie was the most interesting, most compelling, had the best chemistry with Howard. I don't think there is a Howard fan in the world that would tell you that was a bad hire. He killed it, and he deserved it, and he earned it. It's not luck. This is what John's thinking. This is his mentality, and why he's a fucking loser is because that's the way that he thinks.
Right. So
Now-
then,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so after that, because I did not realize why he was going on this whole thing. But my 4, he's got some typing sounds, and also he's looking for reviews of Artie's movie,
Right.
which is Lost and Found.
But here, let's look. Let me see if I can find Artie Lang's Lost and Found reviews. Oh, that was a freaking calamity, that movie with David Spade. I mean, I'm friends with the producer. He's a nice guy, but man, that was bad. That was a really bad performance.
Yeah. So John, who's making fun of Artie for not prepping, goes, "Oh, let me see if I can find something to make fun of Artie out here with this movie that he did."
P.S. He never found it.
Well,
He never did.
You're getting ahead of me
Sorry.
because he does find something. I do have that clip.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm going to back us up just a little bit.
Okay. I apologize.
I pull a lot more clips.
I got real exciting.
I find everything clippable, so I apologize. I'm going to back us up just a second because remember, John claims that he is a better broadcaster than Anthony Cumia from the Opie and Anthony Show.
Right.
And Artie Lang from the Howard Stern Show.
Opie gave him this fucking job and gave him his entertainment life. Am I wrong? I mean, think about it. Fucking, if it wasn't for fucking Opie, there would be no Anthony. He wouldn't be famous. Just vaping. I stopped smoking cigarettes, so I vape every now and then. But
John, back then it's an hour a week that he's doing. Just don't hit the vape. Don't drink your beer for that 1 hour a week
He's
that
the
you're
picture
doing.
of health. He quit smoking.
But he's claiming to be the best broadcaster in the world while drinking and hitting a vape that's slowing him down and gargling his speech. And the point he was making there is completely unnecessary because Anthony's not a piece of shit. He does appreciate what Opie did for him.
Yeah.
He would never tell you differently.
No, he said it.
He has said it many, many times. And it's crazy because John got the start on the Howard Stern Show and is completely ungrateful.
Precisely.
Because John has gone after Howard multiple occasions. We played the time that he was on Adam Carolla's show and just for no reason started bashing Howard. No reason that would do anything for John. He just felt the need to bash Howard and say he was underpaid and it sucked working there.
This whole hour of his show, I could not put my finger on who he was mad at, why he was mad at them. Did he love them? Did he hate them? Was he going to punch him in the face? I mean, it's
psychotic.
just like it's everywhere. It was scary a little bit.
It's a little schizo.
Little bit.
Yeah, it's like two different fucking people.
Well, he's got
It's
the
like-
angel on one shoulder.
It's like Gollum.
And the devil on the
It's
other.
like Gollum wrestling with, is he friends with the Hobbit or does he want the ring back? You know what I mean?
My precious.
Yeah, it's like he's going back and forth and he can't figure out what he's trying to accomplish, what he's mad at, what his goal is.
Because when I was listening to it, and we're going to listen to more of it, but it was almost like there's this internal monologue that's happening to him. And you're right. He is trying to unravel. Did I lie about that yet?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yep.
wait a minute. I think I did. So now I've got to backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
So the other thing, though, that I just wanted to point out before we move on from that. So he goes, and Anthony wouldn't be anything without Opie. And, you got to remember that, yes, people need opportunities in life. But when you get the opportunity, what do you do with it?
Right.
That's what things come down to. And so John got an opportunity with Howard Stern and was a lazy asshole and never moved up to be a writer or a producer or anything. He just went from intern to $10,000 a year employee who was the stunt boy and answered the phones. And that's really all he ever accomplished on there. He would get airtime if he was digging up dirt on someone or ratting on Artie for eating too many sandwiches at lunch the day before or something like that. And John likes to claim he would have been famous anyway. He has said this multiple times. We've covered it.
I know.
Where John says, look since second grade, I've been a performer, maybe kindergarten. I forget what he says. He's like, I was going to be famous. I mean, it's great that I got to do it on the Howard Stern show, but I was going to be famous no matter what. That's what someone who's ungrateful for their opportunity will tell you. And John proves how ungrateful he was just by how he treated that job.
Mm-hmm.
And then going to the Tonight Show, another amazing opportunity, and getting demoted and getting demoted and getting demoted. All right. So then, the next clip I have is the one that you just played where it's like, Artie should be grateful. He is. Artie doesn't talk shit about Howard Stern.
No, he doesn't.
There's been a couple of times that Artie's had some issues and more critiquing what Howard show has become, which perfectly reasonable.
I don't know anybody that's not doing that.
Perfectly reasonable for Artie Lang to say, what the fuck happened? I'm out of there. Marcy Turk comes in and this is what they're doing. So totally understood. But Artie has never said that he wasn't grateful. He wasn't happy about that opportunity. So Artie Lang is not like John at all and loved being on that show. He's a huge fan and really appreciated the opportunity that he had. He fucked it all up because he's a drug addict.
Yeah.
But that happens. All right. So now John's calling out Artie's acting as you kind of played that clip.
I mean, shit, I was going to read your lost and found acting reviews where you tried to be Chris Farley. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Should I look one up? I should look one up. I don't have the staff that Anthony does, God knows how much he pays him. I know that Keith Maresca has to do fucking bodyguarding or whatever fucking security events to make a living because I'm sure Anthony pays him fucking shite. But here, let's look. Let me see if I can find Artie Lang's Lost and Found reviews. Oh, that was a freaking calamity, that movie.
Okay. John, Glass Houses. You're ripping on Artie for his acting ability? Artie's been in some major motion pictures. And he was in a sketch comedy show on TV for a couple of years. He's a way better actor than you, John. It's not even close.
He was
Your
also
acting
on Crashing on HBO.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. And
He's done like some really good stuff.
And actually, we'll come back to that too because of something else John says. He's so fucking stupid. He doesn't even realize. And this is the thing that John doesn't realize is he's just like, well, if it weren't for Anthony hiring Artie would be homeless. No, Artie's very talented. He gets to choose which projects he wants to do. Anthony's happened to be the best one because it's 2 hours, 4 days a week. And you just show up high out of your mind and then do some drugs in the bathroom and then leave.
They had a great time together. I watched the one where John was on with them. They were having a blast.
So now John is trying to find this review of Artie's acting.
Let's see what Roger Ebert has to say. I didn't even check. Let's see if there's anything about Artie in here.
Yeah, let's see. Roger Ebert.
Oh, yeah.
Let's point this out. First off, the fact that Roger Ebert reviewed the movie that Artie is in, I highly doubt we can find Roger Ebert reacting to One Too Many. I'm just guessing that's not out there, but okay.
Artie has 12 sleeps over. It doesn't really. The movie has one funny scene starring John Lovitz as a dog whisperer. It doesn't. This one doesn't trash Artie, but I know there are some where I've seen that have. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
And that's his fail cope. When he fails, he goes, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Well, then why'd you bring it up? Why are you looking for it? I mean, nice prep, stupid. He finds one. It doesn't even talk about Artie's acting. It's like, oh, fuck. Roger Ebert isn't trashing Artie in this review. Damn it. That's what I needed right now. What are you doing to me, Ebert? Killing me over here. So I guess John probably should have prepped a little bit.
Yeah, I should have looked at that before, but I didn't, so fuck it. But it doesn't matter. I think I already read enough of the bad reviews on Artie. I don't need to read any more.
You didn't. You read Reddit comments. I read enough of the bad reviews on Artie. You read a thread in a subreddit somewhere, John. It's not the same at all of what you're talking about there. Also, I should point this out when John goes, Anthony's probably cheap, probably doesn't pay anybody over there.
Mm-hmm.
Artie was making $450,000 a year at that job, the job that John really wanted.
John's also bragged about how he never pays anybody to be on his show.
That's very true. He loves that about himself. He's very proud of how cheap he is when it comes to that. Oh, boy. So we're 27 and a half minutes into the show at this time.
But whatever. Artie and Anthony could fucking play this back and goof on me. I don't really give a shit what they have to say. Nobody's listening.
All right. Wait, now I just heard it differently. Nobody's listening to you. No, he's saying he doesn't care what they have to say because no one's listening to him. Remember, there were billions of comments on this subreddit. Nobody's listening. And Jen doesn't care. He's done the last 27 minutes of his show doing nothing but talking about this. Jen, do you care about the NBA playoffs?
No.
Me neither. So the Pacers took game 6, which forces a game 7 with the Knicks. It's actually this afternoon if you want to check it out. The Knicks are giving them 3.5 points. They're at home. Over-under set at 207. I think if this is a close game, it's going to go over. But if one of these teams pulls away, if the Knicks pull away, there's a good chance they just kill time at the end, and we take the under on that one. So it depends on what you think is going to happen in the game, whether you want the over or the under. I don't care about this shit, so I'm not talking about it. Could you imagine spending 28 minutes talking about something you don't care about? It doesn't happen. It's never happened before.
He's a piece of work.
He's such an asshole. He's so stupid. He thinks everyone is as stupid as he is. We're not. We're not, John. All right. And then he goes back into the victim thing.
Yes.
And so now, and this is a weird thing too. John's like, now, if Artie would apologize to me, we'd be good. He always needs apologies for some reason. I don't know what that does for anyone.
Oh, I know, because first of all, they're not going to.
Why? What?
They have nothing to apologize for.
Let's say this. This is why asking for an apology is the dumbest thing ever. And John's a child. Again, this is childish behavior to want an apology. If someone is actually sorry for something that they've done to someone, they'll communicate that. If they're not, and you force them to give you an apology, it means nothing.
Right.
It means fucking nothing. If someone just goes, fine, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, it means nothing. And John's always looking for apologies because he's like 7. It's like his mom is telling the other kid's mom to, hey, can you call John and have him apologize for what he said to him at school today?
But this is also such a trope of his where he expects people to apologize to him. He's never, ever apologized for anything he's ever done. And he's done some pretty shitty things.
He justifies it every fucking time.
He says, well, I didn't know. I didn't know.
Oh, well, I mean, Cardiff really made him confront this when he told John, he's like, you tend to escalate things a little too quick, John. It's like when you told Artie to kill himself. And, all he was doing was goofing on Larry the Cable Guy. And you immediately escalated it to drink bleach or, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. And Cardiff's like, yeah, this is the problem here, John, is that you escalate that. But John did not respond with, yeah, I know. I take things too far sometimes. I shouldn't have done that.
He never does.
He's just like, no, fuck him. He was blah, 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 blah. He's justifying everything. He never apologizes. He never thinks he's doing anything wrong. But he's a victim and he needs apologies.
Anthony apologizes to me for what he did and he knows what that is. I'm good. I don't give a fuck. You guys want to goof me all day? Fine. 2 fucking rich bullies sitting there trying to pick on somebody who just had 2 strokes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Nice.
Wow. Remember before when he was saying, my life's great. I'm happy. I have everything I need. I got the pensions. I've had some strokes, but it's not a big deal. I'm good. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, wait, I'm a victim.
Yep.
You guys are rich and you're bullying me and you don't even apologize. And I just had a health issue.
The sentence that he had said earlier was, I've got 2 pensions. I have 2 tiny strokes. I'm good. Now it's like, you rich guys and I'm sick, old man, and I can't. Oh, my God. Well, I pulled the same clip, but he goes on to explain he just really wants to save Artie's life.
Oh, yes, he does. I'll play your clip, but I just want to point this out real quick. So he said in that clip that I just played that Anthony knows what he did. He goes, if Anthony apologizes to me.
Yeah, we don't know.
And it was weird too, because he goes, if you apologize to me, you can rip on me all you want. I don't care. Like, what? What does that mean? You're mad because they were ripping on you.
No, I can still rip on you and not apologize, and I will.
But so John's saying that if you apologize, it's all good. He goes, Anthony knows what he did. And so I think I know what he's talking about. I think he's talking about when Anthony saw John perform stand-up comedy. And on that next Monday on his show, he goes, never been able to park so close to the venue before.
Oh,
The
oh my
parking spot
God.
right in the front for me. That pissed off John so much that he's still reeling from that joke. I mean, I'm sure Anthony did have a good spot, but the point is that if that's what he's talking about, unless he's saying that Anthony has to apologize to him for not giving him the job that he gave to Artie, which would be crazy because Anthony thought that he was, or Artie thought he,
Spit it
Stuttering
out.
John thought that he was going to get the job that Artie ended up getting on the Anthony Cumia show. But all right, what's your clip?
My clip is number 6.
I want to save Artie's life. Anthony is enabling him. I don't want Artie to die. I truly love the man. Yeah, I'll fuck with him now because he fucks with me on a daily basis. But I love the man. I love his family. And at the end of the day, Artie apologizes to me. I'm good. If Artie stops his fucking torrential hate for me, for God knows why, I'm good. Anthony apologizes to me for what he did, and he knows what that is. I'm good. I don't give a fuck. You guys want to goof me all day? Fine. Two fucking rich bullies.
That's it. And then
sitting there
Prince
trying to
William.
pick on somebody who just had 2 strokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to let him play again. He's such a loser.
I know. And so I thought that was really interesting because not 5 seconds later
Yeah.
does he say number 7.
Fucking Pocky and Pudgy. I'd beat the living shit out of either one of you. In fact, I would do a fucking 10-rounder. And this is with half of my left side still fucking numb. I would fucking take Artie in the first round or Anthony in the first round and the other in the second. Because I would beat you guys in 1 round. Artie, you'd be winded by 20 seconds in. I would break your nose and that would fucking cause a heart attack and you'd be dead.
So
So I want to save his life so I can kill him with my fists.
right. So even back then, I didn't realize this. Even back then, John's having these childish revenge fantasies. We'll fight, and I'll fight him, and I'll punch him real good, just like I did to Cabby, and then they'll put my arm up in the ring, and everyone will be going, Stuttering, John, Stuttering. He literally is like having these childish fantasies. I used to think about hitting home runs in the major leagues when I was 7.
Right.
This is what John's thinking about.
It dawned on me, too. First of all, I kept forgetting that this was in 2018. I kept thinking,
Yeah.
oh, wow, I can't believe he's still talking about this. No.
It's
I
crazy.
mean, it is still being talked about. But if you cut things down, say he was only allowed to talk about each thing once, there'd be like 5 podcasts of his, and that would be it.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so repetitive.
Because
And he likes to rip on Kevin Brennan for being repetitive.
Oh, my God.
Oh my gosh, Purple is here. What's up, Purple?
Purple.
I'm surprised Purple is here because according to Chad Zumach, Chad said that he met Purple at his recent comedy show, and Purple doesn't even like WATP anymore because he's sick of the Stuttering John stuff. And Chad doesn't lie. So I'm sure
Yeah.
that conversation definitely happened. And the fact that Purple's here and hanging out with us is not proof that Chad, once again, is a fucking liar and you can't trust anything he says. And it's a waste of time to even listen to him. So after John explains that if he could fight these guys, he would beat them up, and he's going to beat them up. And, you know, he goes on to talk about, and Anthony better not bring his gun, because if he didn't have his gun, then I could kick his ass. And then this is nuts because he's pretending that he's being altruistic, but it's really just the opposite.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to help Artie and stop the enabler known as Anthony Cumia, then just fucking whoever is paying for that fucking horrible show, cancel your subscription.
Easy for you to say. So I paused it. I'm going to go back to it, but
Okay.
before I forget this part, this is something. And again, I'm going back to Chad Zumach. It's crazy that I'm thinking about him so much all of a sudden, but this is something that Chad Zumach would say too.
Yeah.
Like when he saw our Patreon numbers, he's like, why is everyone listening to that dork? Cancel your subscription. Stop giving him money. Like, how does that help you? John, he wants revenge. He's being childish. I don't want them to have money, so cancel, and then they won't have any money anymore, and then Artie will get better. I'm saying this so that Artie will get better, right, guys?
I know, and I pulled that same clip
So
because
transparent.
I was like, it's sinister is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you think that somebody losing their job is going to really lift their spirits enough to get healthy?
Oh, John wants to see everyone lose their jobs. That's
I
his
know.
favorite thing. But again, going back to this era, wasn't Artie on Crashing right around this time
Yes.
or immediately after this or
Yes.
something?
Somewhere
so it's
around
like
there.
HBO was ready to snag him up and put him on television.
Right.
It's like, yeah, Artie can get gigs. He's very talented and people like him.
He's extremely
Cancel
funny.
the subscription. If you want to help Artie, cancel your subscription.
That makes perfect sense, John. He won't find money or heroin any other way. That's what he's relying on.
Because that will cause the show to fail, and Artie will then be out of a job, and maybe then he will get the proper help he needs and not be paid to be a heroin addict, which is what Anthony Cumia is.
Comment. I'll pause it.
He just got through saying that he's a multimillionaire, so even if he lost his job, he's still got a ton of money to buy heroin if he
Right.
wanted to, so the show has nothing to do with anything.
So you think the real point is I want their show to fail? Do you think that's the real point? Unsubscribe to my
Yes.
enemy show so that it fails? I think that's really the main message. That
I
he's trying
think
to
it's
get
hilarious, too, because how many people, does he even know yet how many people are even watching his show at this time?
Well, millions. What do you
Oh,
mean?
I'm sorry. My mistake.
I remember back then, John was using Libsyn because he actually had an audio podcast back then. The last one, by the way, I was looking at was August 23rd or August 20th of 2023.
Huh.
So we've just recently abandoned doing the audio versions of a show. But so he was on Libsyn and he goes, people don't realize I have millions of listeners to the show because I have the Libsyn listeners, and you can see all the analytics on that. But then I also have people listening on iTunes and Spotify and Podcast Addict. And it's like, no. Libsyn feeds all of those platforms, retard. You don't know that? You don't know how this works, you idiot? That number that you have from Libsyn, that's the number.
Take that number and times it by however many platforms there are.
Right.
And that's how many people are listening.
All right, I got an assignment for the class today. How can we inflate my numbers to make me look more important than I actually am?
Which is what Anthony Cumia is doing, in my opinion. Anthony Cumia, a.k.a. Pockface, Pizza Face, Moon fucking Head.
Moonhead?
Fucking
Moonhead? What?
I pulled that clip, just that little thing, because I was like, hold on a minute. He hasn't come up with a new
Wow.
insult in how many years?
He's called Anthony Moonhead,
Vinny.
Moonhead, and Mike Bichetti. All three of them are Moonheads.
But the moon is beautiful. Haven't you ever looked at it?
I like it.
I think it's pretty.
I just want to point out in the chat here, Steve Plum says, I'm a recovering addict, and losing a job would never help. No shit.
Yeah.
No shit. You don't think that there's addicts who are homeless? You don't think some of those people are doing drugs on a daily basis? So fucking stupid.
Moon fucking Head. Fucking broad beater. Broad biter. Yeah, that Anthony Cumia, the betrayer. Let me tell you how this man is so two-faced, along with his pock face.
The betrayer.
He likes to be betrayed. He likes to call people out for betraying
He's
him.
been betrayed by Anthony. Wow. That sounds fucking serious, doesn't it?
I would think so.
Okay. So let's see. What's next? What's he talking about here? Oh, so he's all upset about this incident that happened on Artie's podcast where John went on there, got really drunk, was defending Larry the Cable Guy, and Tammy Pescatelli was there, and Artie and my buddy Dan Filato. And so for whatever reason, I've listened to this podcast episode maybe a couple times now. For whatever reason, John just got really butthurt. It was just a dumb conversation like, who's a better comic, Jay Leno or Larry the Cable Guy?
Yeah.
And Artie's point was that Larry the Cable Guy is a novelty act. Jay Leno's a real comic.
Okay.
Was the point he was making. But John got very upset about that to defend his friend.
Larry is doing a character, and it's a funny one. It's like Rodney. You think Jack Cohen, which is Rodney's real name, you think he was Rodney when he went out to eat? No, I did a movie with Rodney, Meet Wally Sparks. Yeah, granted, it wasn't the best movie in the world, and granted, I only had a cameo, but they flew me and my fucking future wife out to fucking Hawaii and to LA and shit.
Jesus, John.
I know.
Always be bragging.
That exact clip I pulled to the word.
It's crazy because he was just making fun of Artie for a movie he made with David Spade that
Right.
I've never seen. I don't know if it's good or not. Probably not. Whatever. But Artie was like a main character in this movie he did with David Spade. There was a major motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
And John goes, yeah, you know what? I was in a movie with Rodney. And okay, it was a cameo. It was just one line. But they flew me out. I was at Hawaii, LA.
I also have a question for you about this because I thought it was interesting that he said, you know, he goes on this diatribe about all of this, and he says, Larry the Cable Guy, he's jealous. Artie's jealous because he had his picture in the comedy club. Doubt it.
Right. Yeah, no shit.
And it somehow leads.
Artie's not jealous of people.
No,
John.
I know. But so Larry the Cable Guy is Dan Whitney.
Yes.
Didn't John interview him and did not understand why the W was on his chair? He didn't know what his name was. Didn't that happen?
Yes, it
Okay.
most certainly did.
I thought so.
Why the W? That's
My last name.
It's initial. He's so fucking stupid. John's such an idiot. But I love that, you know, he's trying to explain like, well, Rodney Dangerfield's playing a character when he's on stage and everyone loves Rodney. He's beloved. But he can't stop himself from talking about how it's like with Ray DeVito. If you bring up a artist, you know, a musical artist or something, he has to start singing a song.
Right.
It's like, stop it. Don't do that. John has to exclaim that I met Rodney and I was in a movie and they flew me out to Hawaii and I'm important. Remember how important I am? Like, whatever.
He can't get through a story without a name drop.
Yeah.
Or a brag.
It's really annoying. So this is more name dropping, actually. And I was disappointed that John didn't know who this person was.
A bullying fat fuck Artie Lang, just bullying me with fucking Russ Maneve sitting there and fucking who's the other enabler? Dan the enabler. Fucking what's his name? Dan Filato.
Oh, didn't John say I was talking about another Dan the Enabler? And now we have the clip of him going, Dan the Enabler, you know, Dan Filato. Oh, so it was Dan Filato. So you were lying when you said, when I was talking about Dan the Enabler, that's a different guy. I wasn't talking about Dan Filato.
Can't keep it straight.
And remember, for people who are not keeping score as well as I am or just catching up on this stuff, there was an episode of Artie's show. Dan Filato was the producer of Artie Lang's podcast, where Artie was doing it from his home for a while. And there was an episode where John comes over, drinks a case of beer, and starts making all these jokes about his gay daughter. I think his gay daughter was just transitioning to be a boy.
Right.
And so he was making all these trans jokes. And no one was making more harsh trans jokes than John was on the show. And afterwards, Dan said, hey, man, do you want me to take any of this stuff out of the episode? You know, it's talking about your family. It's going to
Right.
get back to them. Dan has been in radio all his life. He understands that you're not supposed to do shit like that or it could be detrimental to you. And John goes, no, it's fine. We're just busted balls. Blah, blah, blah. And then they didn't put it up. And then the next day, John sobers up, calls up and goes, you can't post that. And Dan Filato graciously never posted it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does exist.
Oh, sure.
That episode exists somewhere. And John's so afraid of that episode coming out that he called Dan Filato and apologized to him. And now whenever he talks about Dan Filato, he's like, oh no, Dan's great. Dan's great. He was Dan the Enabler until he found out that, oh shit, this thing that I did that I'm embarrassed about and would show what a hypocrite I am.
Right. And we've talked about this before too, but he showed up to an addict's house with a case of beer.
Yeah, every time.
What the fuck is
Every
he doing?
time. He even, this is a story from Dan, but he even ran out of beer one time when he was on Artie's show and asked Dan to go buy him more beer. And Dan's like, no, I'm going to go buy you more beer.
Yeah, fuck off.
And he's talking about Dan's the fucking enabler, but he's the one getting drunk in front of this guy who's trying to recover from drugs and alcohol.
I
abuse.
know.
What a piece of shit. All right, back to the clip.
Who still enables the fat fuck. I don't know. But Artie started. I knew as soon as he started with Anthony, it was just going to be fucking let's beat up on Stuttering John. And Anthony took the bait and ran with it. And, you know, Anthony and Keith.
Took the bait and ran with it. What do you think is happening here? What do you mean he took the bait and ran with it? Anthony's also had a ton of experiences working with you and thinks you're very goofable. Everyone does. This is the thing that I loved it when Jim Norton finally unloaded on Opie. He only did it one time and he hasn't done it since. But he just goes, we're not obsessed with you, Opie. We just find you easily goofable. There's just a lot of things to make fun of you for.
Yep.
And we enjoy doing it. John, it's the same with you, retard. We find you to be easy to pick on and you don't handle it well. So it makes it even more fun.
And, you know, Anthony and Keith Ben Ratner and a lot of the staff, they all knew how great our chemistry was. Look, I was on Anthony's show, and I did one show at his house, and then they asked me to go down to the movie theater and do another show. I did 2 shows for Anthony. What did I get out of it? I did it because I fucking loved Anthony. I really did. He was a fucking nice guy. I don't know what the fuck, but as soon as Artie gets there, man, the cancer spreads. Artie's nothing but a cancer now. And it spreads. That's why whenever, like the last time I did Anthony, it was the same thing. He brought in that fucking unknown comic. I don't know. What is his name? Fucking, I don't know. Joe fucking, I don't know, D'Agostino or whatever his name is. I'd never heard of the guy in my life.
His name is Joe DeVito, and he's way more successful than you by every single measure possible. He's on TV all the time. He sells out clubs across the U.S. And, John can't be bothered to know who Joe DeVito is. Okay. You're the best, John.
Uh-huh.
Of course, that was the famous episode that might have been the very first ever video version of Who Are These Podcasts, where Vinny and I from his studio watched that epic episode
Yes.
of the Artie and Anthony show where John showed up.
Yeah.
And they go, hey, John, we let you use the studio. The engineers who work here ran your show for you. We asked you to throw them a couple bucks. You didn't. You just left all your empties and left. And even then, John couldn't admit he was wrong. Oh, on the Tonight Show, I don't have to tip the staff. What the fuck? So he didn't understand. And Keith was explaining it to him so calm and patiently. No. John, it's okay. And because John was trying to give money to Keith. And
Oh, no, I remember.
I don't want your money. But these guys next to me here who ran your show for that hour and a half, they didn't get paid anything because they don't work for you.
Because you didn't give them the money.
You didn't give them any
we
money.
Asked you to
and
do.
we asked you to do it, which is something they shouldn't even had to have done. I'm just realizing that the last clip that I had on here, I hope that you have it.
Okay.
Because I did not save it, it looks like.
Uh-oh.
Do you have how to handle a bully?
I have that would be a threat.
Yeah, okay.
That's right, Artie. I ain't taking your fucking shit. And the next thing I do, I punch you in the fucking face. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do that. I can get arrested. That would be a threat. I'm just saying. I'm talking metaphorically. I'll punch you in the fucking face. You got it? Thank you.
Metaphorically, I'm going to punch you in the face. You got it? No. What do you mean? I actually don't know what that means. Is
well,
it metaphorically or no?
That's not a threat then, in that case.
So the clip that I had, I apologize. I guess I didn't save it. It was the last clip I was going to have anyway, is he explains how to deal with a bully is that you go low.
Yes, and I didn't clip it because I thought you might.
Yeah. He's like, you got to punch him in the balls. You gotta get dirty. Again, Chad Zumach thinking. It's like, no, this just makes you look like an asshole, John.
Yeah.
And they're not bullies. They're comics. They're professional comedians.
Well, I know. And honestly, if you're in a fight and you punch somebody in the balls, that's such a pussy move.
That's a pussy move right there. No shit.
Even
and
if
he's
he did
proud
do
of it.
that. Yeah, no, I know.
But that's when he tells Artie to drink bleach or he goes after people, you know, the fact that he's like, I need producer Chris's name so that I can dig up dirt on him. Like, it's the same mentality of punching someone in the balls. You're like, well, what kind of fight is this? What are we doing right now? We're all just making jokes and having fun. And you want to physically harm people or ruin their lives or fuck with them in real life.
Well, he's not having fun.
He's not having any fun. He likes to pretend that he is. So here's the deal. And like I said, I have a couple clips of John playing in his band from 94 that I want to watch before we get out of here. But I couldn't get through this whole episode. As you can tell, there's too many clips already. I got about 34 minutes into it. There's another 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
You listen to it.
Yes. I have a couple more that I wanted to play.
Please,
so
yeah.
But this is he's so disjointed in his thoughts. Now, I'm not great at it either, but he's worse than me. So 12 he goes from that, talking about punching people in the face, to some funny tweet that he posted.
Well, what did I tweet the other day? It was a fucking Chelsea Handler joke. I forget now. I don't know. Chelsea Handler. I don't know. Chelsea Handler has bodyguards, she says. What? Who the fuck is going to attack Chelsea Handler?
He attacks her all the time.
He remembers every single thing that's happened in his life, but he can't remember the joke he just tweeted.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
So it must have been hilarious.
But why the fuck would he think Chelsea Handler wouldn't have bodyguards? Wildly famous. I mean, this is back. She's probably more famous back then than she is now.
Yeah.
She had the E! Show
Books.
every night. She's going on these comedy tours and everything. And she says a lot of crazy shit about a lot of people. I would imagine that there's a lot of people who are angry with her. Seems
Yeah.
like she would want to have some bodyguards.
I've read some of her books.
Being a woman who talks a lot of shit and being as famous and popular as she is. John's like, could you imagine someone famous who talks a bunch of shit needs a bodyguard? Yeah. I can.
I can, and she
Actually
can
makes-
afford to pay him, and I would if I were you.
Actually makes perfect sense, John, but I'm sure your joke was amazing.
So this is just going to wrap things up because this is my last one I can play. But in the beginning, so he starts reading some of these Reddit things, and one of the people wrote about Artie was he just repeats the same old stories. He just never shuts up, but same old stories over and over and over again. And then 13.
Yeah, Scott played the fucking famous outtakes of my Tonight Show audition with the Nicolas Cage and the Pamela Anderson or whatever. Yeah, I was mad at him at the time, but ultimately, look, it was payback of all the fucking practical jokes that I played on Scott, taping his phone down, and so when he answered it, it kept on ringing. And fucking the old fucking tying a fishing line to a $20 bill and Scott bending over to fucking grab it and then fucking pulling it away from him. Fucking putting ink on a kaleidoscope and giving it to him to look in and fucking causing a black ring around his intern's eye.
I've heard all of those stories.
Grandpa's
a
telling
million
his
times.
stories again.
Yep.
Mom, can we go? Grandpa's telling his stories again.
Yeah, and I listened to the whole thing, and it's just more of this. It's incredible. It's fascinating.
Okay, so I have not listened to the second half of this yet. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
That's where we'll pick up on the next episode, the next edition of Living in the Past with Stuttering John.
Who are these podcasts?